And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Speech a Week. Let me just quickly straighten up that card because that was going to bother me if I left it flopping on its side like that. Welcome. My name is Pippa. I am the British acting coach. But really, I'm an actor who really loves to get more acting stuff out of people. So this is A Speech a Week, hashtag A Speech a Week, something I started originally by looking at Shakespeare's sonnets, doing hashtag a sonnet a day during COVID. And now it has evolved into a more in-depth look at some of Shakespeare's plays, monologues, scenes. And I go live every week at 1 o'clock UK time to explore a chunk of some sort of classical text with you in order to make Shakespeare more accessible and make it a bit more enjoyable rather than having some old English teacher yelling at you, telling you it has to be done a certain way. I'm here to kind of say, no, it doesn't. We can do what we like with Shakespeare. That's why we still read it today. It is timeless. And yeah, this is a safe space. This is a rehearsal room in my eyes. Of course, it's live to the world and anyone can view it, but just know that yes, although it's kind of your characters have something they're saying, it's not set in stone and your interpretation is valid and your initial responses as you read or act or say these lines is valid. Two of the biggest things that I talk about with Shakespeare, and these are tips that you can use in any realm of working through a script or in your acting career to think about, to use. I've lost my train of thought there. What I'm about to say can be applied to any kind of script that you're working from. But with Shakespeare especially, there's two things I kind of coach that I think you should consider. First one is allow it to wash over you, just like a piece of music. You don't sit there and analyze every little detail about a song, do you? Ed Sheeran, why did you pop that there? I don't know. You don't do that. You just listen and take it all on board. I want you to do the same with Shakespeare. Next time you go see a play or you watch something back on YouTube or you look at you listen to the first read of the script, the scene we're doing today with me, try not to think, I need to get it, I need to understand it, and squash and stress the situation out before you've even begun. Let it wash over you. Just take a breath, think, okay, let's see what comes up for me here, and just have a little think. Come at it peacefully, calmly, and see what happens. That's my first tip. And I've actually totally forgotten what my second tip is that I normally always say. Oh, that's it. Shakespeare should be said, not read. And of course, I'm reading it today, but I'm saying it out loud. So if you're new to acting, or even if you're a well-seasoned actor just coming through here to touch up on some skills or do a bit of research, get it up on its feet and get it out vocally. Saying these words helps you appreciate them a whole different way than you would if you were sat there in your bedroom on bed going, what is she saying here? You need to actually get your lips, your teeth, the tip of the tongue all around these words and see how that impacts you as well. Allow that experience to wash over you too and go from there. Let you saying these words be the starting place for you when it comes to Shakespeare. All that being said, let's tuck in. As like I said earlier, this is a rehearsal room. I've enabled live chat, so if you've got any questions as we're going and you're watching, type them away and I will get back to you as quickly as I can, live on the call. This is a conversation. And if you are watching this back on playback, welcome. Let me know in the comments and still answer any questions. I can answer any questions that you have if you just type them below. Be sure to interact as well because it's lovely to see. I know people come back to watch these because this time isn't great for everyone. So do let me know who you are, where you're from, what your level is, and if you've learned anything from these videos. I do find it so helpful. So, well, and it's just nice, isn't it? It's not helpful, it's just nice. Sometimes they're helpful. You get me thinking about things differently, but hey ho. Let's go. So we're looking at Hermione. We have done part 1 and part 2 of this scene already. So I do recommend going back and starting there, especially if you are working on this part of the scene, the speech, the famous Hermione speech, Sir, spare your threats, the bug which you would fright me with, I seek. This is a really popular, well, it's not really popular actually, but it's a monologue that is often done. And it's one of the, it's just a great example of Shakespeare's writing. I mean, all of his plays are pretty much, well, something. So If you are just working on this for a drama school audition or for an audition for the job, a job as Hermione or whatnot, make sure you go back to part 1 and 2, because you can't look at a monologue and just pluck it out of the scene, especially Shakespeare, without having any idea of the context or situation that Hermione is in. So we're not going to go through that too much now. But before we begin, I will just say that she's obviously in court. Just to summarise, let's just refresh that. She's in court. Her husband is accusing her of treason and adultery. She's just given birth to her second child, who has been plucked away from her, torn away from her. She's been imprisoned for God knows how long and accused of all these terrible things. And she's having a bit of enough by this point, I would say. So it's worth remembering that. And that's why I say go back and watch the other videos, because as a scene as a whole, if we did this speech standalone, yeah, you could do what you want with it. However, with the context, it's going to add a lot more depth and knowledge into what she's already said and why she's saying what she's saying now. It's really important. So always do that legwork. Always do that legwork. The best actors do. So I'm going to read this speech. Leontes has just said, "Your actions are my dreams. You had a bastard by Polixenes, and I but dreamed it. As you were past all shame, those of your fact are so past all truth." I did something there where I kind of made it very contemporary. Let's just rewind. "As you were past all shame, those of your fact are so past all truth, which to deny concerns more than avails. For as thy brat hath been cast out, like to itself, no farther owning it, which is indeed more criminal in thee than it, so thou shalt feel our justice, in whose easiest passage look for no less than death." And the bit we're looking at today is what Hermione responds to that. So just quickly, he's saying, expect death, love, because you're the criminal here. All right, let me quickly open my window. I'm already getting a bit hot. I'm injured at the moment, and my whole body's inflamed. So I'm getting more feverish. Hilarious. But I think Hermione would be getting a bit feverish at this point, right? So it's all fitting. It's all working for me. Hermione responds thus. "Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity. The crown and comfort of my life, your favour, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, starred most unluckily, is from my breast. The innocent milk in its most innocent mouth, hailed out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet, with immodest hatred the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place, in the open air, before I have got strength of limit. Now, my liege, tell me what blessings I have here alive, that I should fear to die. Therefore proceed. But yet hear this, mistake me not. No life, I prize it not a straw, but for mine honour, which I would free, if I shall be condemned upon surmises, all proof sleeping else but what your jealousies awake. I tell you 'tis rigour, and not law. Your honours all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge. So there you have it. There's a cold reading. Oh, hi, Ernest. He's driving. Welcome. Well done. Driving and listening in. What a legend. Anyone else is here? Do say hello. I can see some more of you on. So, got a little tickle today. That was a cold read, right? There wasn't much emotion behind that. I made her quite direct and quite sassy, and probably quite, what's the word I'm looking for? hard, I guess, at this point. And I think the whole speech, if you're going to do it as a monologue, it does need more color and texture in it than that. However, in context of the scene, that might work a little bit more. What is she saying in this scene, in this speech to you? If we zoom out and have an overall kind of idea of what this speech is, she's opening with, "Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek." Sir, spare your threats. You don't need to threaten me. What you're trying to fright me with, I am law. So she's kind of saying, you have no power over me now. And then she goes into this wonderful list, working through all the things that she's had and lost, and now confronting him, I think. This is a very specific part of the scene where she is directing pretty much everything to Leontes until towards the end. And you can make choices about this. Who is she speaking to? And again, this is really important to remember that we already know that all of her waiting women are behind her. There's a lord in the scene. There's an officer. There's, did they exit? Leontes, lords and officers in a court of justice. The public are also there. So all of these things are really important to remember when you're doing this whole scene and this monologue in particular. Who is she directing to what, when? However, she is really going at Leontes here. I think her exhaustion by this point, and this is all my personal opinion, but I think her exhaustion by this point and his immovability, his hardened heart, is really just breaking her heart to see. And I got a great piece of advice from a fellow actor from the Old Vic about this scene and about Hermione's character as a whole. And he mentioned her ability to keep on loving him despite all of this. So I think there does have to be a patience in her to empathize with him. And also, it adds more to the heartache and it adds more color and more of a complex character for her, rather than just being like an angry woman who's like, no, sod this, screw you. Having that heartbreak and this exhaustion and all these other depths of her emotions at this point are really important to have. I don't think I really gave you that in the first reading, but I gave you quite a modern read of it, I suppose, where it was quite direct and quite, like I said, quite hard. But it does need that vulnerability in there as well, from my perspective. Hello, Rodney. He says, here, here, miss. Bit of juggling this early morning. Funny thing is, when I think of juggling, I actually think of juggling. I used to juggle quite a lot. And so I'm picturing you with some clubs in your back garden juggling, which, you're probably not doing, but I know what you mean. Lovely. So let's go through and translate it then. As always, this on a speech a week, I will translate, I'll read it cold for you, first of all, so you can hear it lifted off the page, and then we will tuck into it, digest it, talk about favorite bits, translate it as best we can and make it all accessible, and then I will read it again, giving you a different variation of what I did before. So looking at this, as I said, we open with that lovely, "Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek." Now, it's really important to remember that punctuation changes from publication to publication, and I've put it in the description below. But always check multiple versions of the script. In my version, and I actually really like this edition of Shakespeare's work, the punctuation is actually normally what I would do. So kudos to, I've forgotten who's edited it. Peter Ackroyd did the introduction, so I'm sure he had a part to play in that. But anyway, "Sir, spare your threats, full stop." I think in the first take, I read it more like a comma. But she's saying here, "Sir, spare your threats. Let that sit, full stop, let it breathe. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek, full stop." And then we've got one more statement before she carries on a longer sentence structure. "To me can life be no commodity, full stop." There's the three very clear statements, in my opinion. "Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek," which sits beautifully on the rhythm. Can you hear that? The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. that iambic pentameter comes through beautifully there. To me, can life be no commodity? That one as well, sort of, I'd say. What do we think? What do we think on that bit? I love the Sir at the beginning, and this is the specificity, the genius of Shakespeare's specificity. She doesn't just say, spare your threats. She says, Sir. If you call someone Sir, they're normally a higher status than you, or there's some respect there. However, by this point in the scene, again, this is why it's so important to know what's happened before, maybe it is more sarcastic. Maybe she is really saying it through gritted teeth, or really saying it trying to remind him that he is her Sir. That being said, I think Sir is a little bit more of a formal calling to someone that you maybe don't know as well. So she's not saying my lord, which is a little bit more affectionate, I think, and closer, which she does say at the beginning of the scene. Where is it? She says, you, my lord, best know who least will seem to do so. My past life, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't do that anymore. She's straying away from that. So interesting. So play around with that. What does that Sir mean to you? Spare your threats. So we'll go through and translate. We already did this bit really. Sir, spare your threats. Get rid of your threats. I don't need them. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. Bug. Bit of an interesting one, isn't it? We don't normally say bug anymore. Well, I mean, we do. You get bugs in a garden, you get bugs in, crime series and stuff, but always look up these words. So let's have a little look. They caught the sailing bug, obsession, enthusiasm, mania, interesting. Conceal a miniature microphone, or annoy or bother. She's bugging me. She's irritating me. So again, those could be two different things. Obsession and, where was it? What did I say? Enthusiasm. Or irritation. So what one is it going to mean to you? What do you think she's saying there? The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. I'm actually just going to look up something else quickly. I feel like the bug which you, harmful organism. I don't know as well if maybe... Oh, actually, this is interesting. The bug which you would fright me with. So an insect. So let's look at it from an insect perspective as well. Bugs were not good things to have around, really. And in nature, you would have them. But I think the fact that she says, fright me with, I seek. I'm looking for this bug. But really, bugs are tiny little things. You're hearing me spitballing here, but this is how I think about these things. The little bug that would normally scare me, that you're trying to scare me with, I seek. And that whole analogy, to me, is really childish. When, I don't know if anyone's got any brothers and sisters, but let's say, you find a little, I've got some ibuprofen here, let's just take one out, but you've got a little bug or a spider, and you're like, I got a spider, and you're chasing someone with it. I think it's really telling of her impatience at this point. Even though she's being patient, I think she's undermining his authority and death by saying, the bug which you would fright me with, I seek. I'm looking for this little insect, which isn't a little insect, is it? It's death. But she's undermining and underplaying all of that. And perhaps saying indirectly or directly, you're acting like a child. You're trying to scare me like a little girl and it's not working. So it's really cool, isn't it? Love it. To me, can life be no commodity? So again, look up commodity. I'm not going to do it for you. Always look up these words. But a commodity, in my words, something that's just a given, something straightforward. Oh, it's just something casual that you have. To me, can life be no commodity? I can't have that. I don't want it. It's not a given, and I don't want it anymore. In fact, I am just going to look it up quickly because I feel like there's something else, a valuable thing as well. So that's it. So see how, again, my initial response is it's not something casual that I want, but it's something more valuable. So look up these words, always look up these words. Lovely. Rodney says, sounds like she is pronouncing that he is spinning his wheels. Definitely. That's what I feel at this point. And because there's statements, I think she's owning it a little bit more. If you go back to the previous speeches that she's making in the scenes, her sentence structure is much longer. There's a little bit more, I think, fumbling as we go through it, as we've discussed before. And now it's a lot more clipped. There's a lot more packaged in there, I think, in these shorter things. And I think she's mainly figuring out her composure again in the situation. It's lovely. Moving on. The crown and comfort of my life. So she says, to me can life be no commodity. To me can life be no valuable thing. The crown and comfort of my life. And this is a bit where I see people go quite wrong with this. She's mentioned life, and that's what she's going to elaborate on now. The crown and comfort of my life, my life, your favor, I do give lost. So really be aware of what you're hitting. It's really important to remember the crown and comfort of my life. She doesn't just say the best thing in my life, or the comfort of my life, or the crown of my life, your favor. She says the crown and comfort of my life. And they're both these lovely curly words that begin with that lovely sound. The crown and comfort. There's a lovely vowel sound in crown and comfort. If you're going to say comfort, make it feel comforting for me, for the audience, to help them understand what your life was like before. The crown and comfort of my life, the best things about my life. Well, the best thing, again, she's being specific here. She's not saying the crowns and comforts of my life, all these things. She begins with his favor. If you're in favor with someone, again, look up the word favor, but it's a shorter version of favorite. So most of us know it of that, or flavor. Flavor, what's your flavor? To have favor with someone or have someone's favor, they like you, they love you, they are giving you a good, positive attention. And that's what she's saying here. The crown and comfort of my whole life, your favor, in brackets, just to remind you, Leontes, it was your favor, your point of view, your love, your affection. I do give lost. She's giving it and it's lost. I do give lost. I have lost it. For I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. This is so beautifully written. So she's saying why life can be no commodity for her. To me, can life be no commodity? Because, you could add in your brain there, because the crown and comfort of my life, your favor, I do give lost. I've lost it. Because I can feel it's not here anymore, but I don't know where it went. Isn't that heartbreaking? So make sure, and there's lovely commas in there to help you with this articulation of her thoughts. There's a reason why she reminds him it was his favor. She could have just said, the crown and comfort of my life, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone. But she doesn't. She specifies to him, it was his favor. It was his love. It was his joy, everything. His favor. I feel like I can't articulate that even more, but it's just heart-wrenching. Then we got a semicolon after, but know not how it went, in my version anyway. It could be a full stop in yours, but I like this semicolon. It's like she's, again, picking up the pace a little bit, and it is a kind of afterthought. She doesn't say first at any point as well. So she doesn't know. She wasn't planning to say the second thing. So that's really important to remember. She's not, this all has to be fresh with Shakespeare. With any acting, that's what we do, right? We know in our actor brain the script is there and what the words are, but we need to make it fresh for our characters, as if they've never experienced this situation before and don't know what is going to happen next, don't know what is going to come out of their mouth next. So this bit is lovely, and I feel like it's a lovely, impulsive, off-the-cuff remark of her. My second thing, because now I've thought about that one thing I've lost, the biggest thing that I've lost, the thing I was most proud of, that I crowned as the jewel, of my life was your love, and it has gone, and I don't know where it went. And now I think of it, the second thing, my second joy, the second greatest thing of my life, blah, 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 which we're going to go on to. My second joy and first fruits of my body. So my second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one infectious. My third, she goes on. So the first thing, so what is her second favor, her second joy? Fruits, the first fruit of her body. She's talking about her first child here. My firstborn. From his presence I am barred. If you're barred from something, I used to work in the gambling industry. We all used to bar people all the time. If you're barred, you are restricted. You are imprisoned from them. From his presence I am barred like one infectious. How awful is that? And really imagine that as a woman giving birth to a child, a young boy, and having no access to him because of reasons absolutely unbeknown to you, and being treated like you are an infectious leper. I mean, that must be just freaking awful. And it's just really well written, that bit. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred. And she uses that simile for a reason, like one infectious. She could have just said I'm barred, but she doesn't. She adds more detail to make it more heartbreaking. Like one infectious. So it's not even, she can hold his hand through the bars. If you're infectious, you are put out in isolation. So she's iterating her isolation. The fact that she is being treated like some sort of carrion for a disease. Oh, my third comfort. Repetition of comfort there. Interesting. My third comfort, starred most unluckily. So this idea of being starred unluckily, star-crossed lovers. This is all the kind of, not spiritual idea, I guess, but the whole like bad luck kind of thing. And again, it's a nice kind of afterthought, starred most unluckily. So my third comfort, which is, also doomed to fail or has unluckily ended up like this, which was always doomed, perhaps, is from my breast. The innocent, and this I do think is a specific memory perhaps here for her, is from my breast. The innocent, and again, she should just say, is from my breast, haled out to murder, taken from me to be murdered. But she doesn't. The innocent milk in its most innocent mouth. In my version, it says it most innocent mouth, but I think it's most innocent mouth, haled out to murder. She's really laying on thick the idea that this small child, the most innocent thing, drinking the purest form of love from her mother, has been plucked away. And I say plucked as well. It reminds me of that Lady Macbeth bit in one of her speeches where she says, I would have plucked its nipple from my plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed his brains out or something. It's like, it's crazy, isn't it? We think of, as well, some people, I don't know, think of breastfeeding as a, shouldn't see that, don't want to see it. But it is the most purest, natural thing that we do when we have children. So it's such a vivid analogy and shows her as this kind of, well, a mother nursing her child who has been taken out to be killed. Like, it's brutal. So really make sure that you understand what the heck that feels like, or you can imagine what that feels like. Personally, I don't think emotional recall is necessary all the time. This sort of stuff, if you just imagine what this is like, you can absolutely get there. So, yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. And then she goes on, and then she talks about herself. So all of these things, she's not saying, I've had this done to me and I've had that done to me. She's speaking out of concern, really, for the other people, initially, her children, I think, and Leontes from the beginning. obviously she says, I do give loss for I do feel it gone. She's talking about herself throughout all of this, but she's not saying my life is more important. That's the last thing on her mind right now. The second and third comfort of her life were her children. And she's explaining how that has been torn from her. And then she talks about herself here. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet. So a strumpet back in those days was like a slut. I hate that word, but it was a promiscuous woman who had a bad reputation. I don't know if it was a term used for men of the time. I doubt it. But it was a particular insult word, essentially. And what she's saying there is, on every post, I am proclaimed a strumpet. So there's probably posters. So let this paint the scene for you. There's probably posters saying the Queen has been dethroned for villainy. The Queen slept with Polixenes. The Queen births a bastard child. Like, imagine that. Imagine having your reputation tarnished, not even tarnished, just absolutely cut up and removed and destroyed when you haven't done anything wrong. And here we pick up the pace a little bit more. Hailed out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet. With immodest hatred, the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. So these are two separate things. Try not to speed through them. Again, this is something I see here. So I'm proclaimed a strumpet on every post, on pillar to post. All this gossip is going around about me. And with immodest hatred. So modesty, again, look up these words, modesty and modest, hatred. What do they mean? She's saying here, with immodest hatred, it's not that she's just had the childbed privilege denied. So what I mean by that is that moment after childbirth where you're able to kind of recover. She's not had that. And not only has she not had that, it's been taken away from her with hatred. Oh, wait, not even just hatred, immodest hatred. It's been taken away from her with such a shameful violence, aggression. And the way I see that is probably similar to how she describes her third comfort, starred most unluckily, is that maybe she was pretty much naked in bed trying to do this, or in the prison, or wherever I think she gives birth in the prison, doesn't she? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's brutal. It's brutal. And I do think when she says, which longs to women of all fashion, so fashion, like a style of any woman, will understand this feeling if you've had a child. The childbed privilege, the honor of being able to be with your child after giving birth and resting, it belongs to every single woman. So there, again, remember, she's in the court, lots of people around. There's probably going to be some women watching this trial unfold. And all of the women behind her too, that she is kind of speaking for. Because let's be honest, if she goes down, it's highly likely that her maids knew what was going on. And Leontes probably won't want anything to do with them because they're going to be loyal to his wife. So, you know, it's not just her going down here. It's her children, her reputation, which we come to, which she's defending here. The women behind her, Paulina, all of her waiting women. It's ridiculous. And I do think there is a bigger picture here from a female perspective. Like, she's sticking up for women a little bit here, which is great. Rodney says, it is also the gold standard for infant sustenance and physiological maturation. Maturation. Oh, how do we say that word? I hope you touch on this. So yeah, I won't share, but Rodney's a very well-schooled chap on, I was about to say enzymes, but that's not it, is it? The science between the microbiome and I've totally lost the words. I'm thinking of bugs now. Yeah, I'm absolutely hashing it, but that's it. I was thinking this as I was saying it about your line of work. We should cheer every breastfeeding event for its health supporting nature of our next generation. Yes, exactly. But it's funny, isn't it? It's something that we kind of frown on, or people add, you know, if a woman's breast is actually something to be sexually desired. Well, no, they're actually there to be providing sustenance for the next generation, getting all those good things into them. It's so fascinating, isn't it? Interesting. So good. And then she says, the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place. So I love this bit as well. So lastly, she couples it off. She cuts it off. She rounds it off neatly here and says, the last thing, after all of this that's happened, I'm hurried here. So again, it's not I was brought here. She was hurried here. So she was probably putting a dressing gown back on, or covering herself up, being dragged by the arms, the hair, who knows? She might have tripped up and got kicked a few times. Really think about what maybe has happened here to get her to this place. Lastly, hurried here to this place. And again, it's not just hurried here, it's to this place. So I think there's definitely an attitude there that can be played with. Hurried here, I've totally lost my place, to this place. In the open air, so for all the world to see, before I have got strength of limit, before I have got my strength back, strength of limit. So well put. Full stop. Now, my liege. Liege, such a good word. Let's look up liege, actually, because we have got a bit of time. Concerned with or relating to the relationship between a feudal superior and a vassal. Their liege lord, their senior overlord, master, the sovereign. And I definitely think there's some kind of packaged sass in that liege. She brings it back to the present in that new sentence. Now, my liege, now I've told you all of that. Now I'm stood here before you, my superior. Tell me what blessings I have here alive that I should fear to die. Tell me what good things I have here standing right now, alive as I am, that I should be scared to die, that I should be worried I would lose them if I died. And it's not a question, it's a statement. But she's trying to get him to think. She's telling him to do something. And normally, if you're on trial, you won't command something of the person you're on trial with, or for, or at, whatever. You know, you don't make the statements and you don't call the shots. And yet here she's beginning to call the shots. I really think we're seeing her queen-like stature come through here. Oh, it is so good. And he doesn't. And I think it's important you give him that opportunity to say, oh, well, actually, yeah, well, you've got all your money. Or, oh, yeah, darling, how silly of me. Of course you want to die. It'd be worse, actually, if I kept you alive. But he doesn't. He's so deluded on this path of destruction, killing and ruining everything that he ever held dear. It's crazy. Therefore, proceed. Full stop. And again, like I said, she's starting to call the shots now and move it along herself. And again, that doesn't normally happen. If you're on the witness stand or up for trial, you're not the one dictating the pace of the trial, are you? Well, I don't know, are you? Never experienced that before, apart from in this scene. So it's really interesting. So she then says, therefore proceed. Like, off we go then, let's move. But yet hear this. It's so good. So then she gives that command, but then she's got something else to say that she needs to add. And but yet hear this as well. I think it's directed to Leontes for sure. However, I do feel because she is trying to protect her reputation and her children's reputation and her honor, which she's already reiterated that she is here to protect and save. Well, she's about to iterate that. She's already said in the previous chunk that, you know, she would spare grief, but for honor, it's a derivative from me to mine. That's her. She needs to clear her name, essentially. She's just iterating that here. And there is something different in this version than I learned initially. Let me not. No life, I prize it for life. So I thought that was actually for life. So in my version, it says, therefore proceed, but yet hear this, mistake me not. No life, I prize it not a straw. But I thought it was for life, I prize it not a straw, which I do actually prefer. So I'm going to say for life next time. I think I said no life, but it felt foreign to me. But yet hear this. I think this is a bit more of a proclamation at this point. For life, no life, so death, I prize it not a straw. I don't care about it. And this is why I actually think for life is better, because no life is death, isn't it? So she's saying, I prize it not a straw. I don't even prize it a grain, you know, the smallest thing. Don't even care about it. But I think it should be perhaps for life, because life is what she doesn't care about. She wants death. So if it is death that she prizes not a straw, I actually think that's contradictory. So I would say for life. I actually think that's completely incorrect and really bad editing. Usually, I'd say the punctuation in this copy is really good, but still, some of the words clearly not sitting with me. I prize it not a straw, but for mine honour, which I would free. So, but for my honour, except for my honour, which I would free, which I would clear. I'd clear my name. If I shall be condemned upon surmises, all proofs sleeping else but what your jealousies awake, I tell you 'tis rigour and not law. So this is interesting, and this is where I say it's very specific. No one sentence is necessarily delivered to one place at any point, unless I think it's Leontes. In any scene, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone, like I'm looking at the camera now, hi, I'm having a conversation with you, but I might look over at someone else there and I just quickly acknowledge them and all of that sort of stuff. All these funny little quirks we have as humans where we are always interacting with the next person. In this section, I think it's important to remember and get specific. I think she says, but yet hear this to everyone, and Leontes for sure. She wants everyone to hear this. Mistake me not, I don't care about dying, but it's my honour that I am standing here for to protect and free, should I say. It's not even protect it, it's free it. And then she says, if I shall be condemned upon surmises, so let's look up surmises. I will do that one with you. For surmise, it says, suppose that something is true without having evidence to confirm it. If I shall be condemned upon supposing that something is true without evidence to confirm it, then know that it's your jealousy that has awakened that. And it's not the law, it's your stupid jealousy. That was a really rough ad-lib. But do you see? So if I shall be condemned upon falsehood, all proof sleeping else, all evidence sleeping, not being woken up, not being shared or shown, but what your jealousy is awake. And it's lovely, that analogy. All proof sleeping else, but what your jealousy is awake. His jealousy is awaking all the proof he needs, but unfortunately none of it's true. I tell you 'tis rigour and not law. And look up the word rigour. I'm not going to actually go into that. I want you to make sure you research it yourself. The reason I'm not Googling all of them all of the time now, because it takes a lot of time, but I really encourage you to do this stuff yourself. Don't listen to me or Shakespeare with Susan or whatever on YouTube and just take their word for it. You've got to do this yourself, okay? So look it up, but think about it. If something is rigorous, there's that lovely bit in Zorro where Catherine Zeta goes, oh, it was very rigorous. It's a bit more fiery in my mind's eye, but look it up and decide for yourself. It's rigour, not law. I'm stood here in the court of law being held against my will through jealousies. This is not a law. This is not a lawful trial. This is a you're jealous of shit that hasn't happened trial, for want of a more eloquent phrase. Forgive me there. I do like to use all of the vocabulary, and I'm sure Shakespeare would have put a heck of a lot more swear words in his plays had they been around in his days. And I'm sure some of the words he has put in his plays carried as much weight as some of the swear words we carry today. So, I tell you, 'tis rigor and not law. And again, I tell you, da, da, da. It's a lovely trio of words there. I tell you, 'tis rigor and not law. I tell you now, this is unlawful. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And then we've got that lovely moment where she says, your honours all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge. Your honours all. She respects everyone else now. I think the respect for Leontes is still there and the love is still there, but she's hurrying the process on now. She's taking control of the scene and I just freaking love it. So she says, I refer me to the oracle and Apollo will be my judge. Not you, Leontes. Not him, not her, Apollo. Okay? Love it. So good, isn't it? So, if you've got any questions, do comment below or in the live chat. I'm going to have another little reread of it now. In fact, I'm going to not use the script in front of me. I'm going to use the Folger edition, which I have popped in the description. Just so I'm not holding that. I've got a bad shoulder, as I mentioned already, and this is not helpful. So I'll use that. I'm going to try and add a little bit more softness to it, just to contrast with the first take. Remember when you do takes of things, they're always going to be a bit different. So again, this is some acting coaching stuff, but never try and put your pressure on to be like you were before, or do it how you did it before when you felt it the most, all of that sort of stuff. Every time you do it should be slightly different. There should be some little nuances that are different because you're more in the moment and you're seeing different things happen, okay? In my opinion. So let's have a little go. So Leontes has just said, look for no less than death. Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity. The crown and comfort of my life, your favour, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone, but not know how it went, but know not how it went. My second joy, and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, starred most unluckily, is from my breast, the innocent milk in its most innocent mouth, hailed out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet, with immodest hatred the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place, the open air, before I have got strength of limit. Now, my liege, tell me what blessings I have here alive that I should fear to die. Therefore proceed. But yet hear this. Mistake me not. For life, I prize it not a straw, but for mine honour, which I would free. If I shall be condemned upon surmises, all proof sleeping else but what your jealousies awake, I tell you 'tis rigour and not law. Your honours all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge. Different. I didn't quite get the softness across that I'm looking for. However, if you do the whole scene, I think maybe it could be a bit tougher here. However, we have to remember she's exhausted. She has just given birth to a child again. She has been dragged out, probably not eaten for a day. Who knows? All of that is going to have an impact on it, okay? I kind of want to do it again, super soft. In fact, I am going to do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's just see. Let's just see. Rodney says, so true regarding different takes. Yeah. And I think as actors, sometimes we really put this pressure on ourselves to get it right or do it how we did it that time because we felt it was the best. That doesn't mean it was for the audience. So I think it can be quite an egotistical thing when we're trying to get up, like do it for us, for our ego. Oh, but I felt it then. I really felt it then. Okay, cool. But didn't actually read very well for the crowd. And they're the ones we should be caring about as an actor. We have a duty to share our story or the narrative or a character's story with the audience, to get them thinking, to get them changing something, or talking about something, or confronting those issues, or the story of whatever it is that we're sharing. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So let's do it again. I'm going to make it a lot more intimate. Let's see how we go. Oh, let me get the script up. That'd be helpful. Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity. The crown and comfort of my life, your favour, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, starred most unluckily, is from my breast, the innocent milk in its most innocent mouth, haled out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet, with immodest hatred the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place, in the open air, before I have got strength of limit. Now, my liege, tell me what blessings I have here alive, that I should fear to die. Therefore proceed. But yet hear this. If I shall be, no, I've got it wrong. But yet hear this. Mistake me not. For life, I prize it not a straw, but for mine honour, which I would free. If I shall be condemned upon surmises, all proof sleeping else, but what your jealousies awake? I tell you, 'tis rigour and not law. Your honours all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge. Different, right? Totally different. Softer, but it still felt very direct. I'm obviously in a very direct mood today. Lovely, so let's leave it there then. Really good to see you all. We are going to look at, thank you, Rodney. Thank you, darling. Just a bit of fun there, isn't it? But it's interesting. And, you know, what you thought was a really good, solid, piercing audience connection to someone else might be absolutely rubbish. That's the brilliant, beautiful thing about acting. It's one of the things I love about it. So really enjoy having a play with this. It's a beautiful scene. We will look at Paulina next week. And I will be sending out my newsletter shortly as well, because I'm going to have a little bit of a change with the Speech a Week. In terms of the live structure, I need to kind of rethink that, just because the quality of it, when I watch them back, it's so poor. So I might do like a live screening where I'm on the chat function live, and maybe we can do like a Zoom or something with it. I don't know, for anyone who wants to join in, but I want to make sure now my channel is kind of getting a better quality, and because I'm on my old MacBook and you can't go live on your camera phones yet because I haven't got enough subscribers. Share with your friends. Let's get more subscribers in so I can go live on my phone. How about that? The quality isn't quite there, and I think getting the quality up will help, but I'll keep you in the loop with all of that. But we will look at Paulina next week. So Paulina is Hermione's waiting woman. And we are going to have a little look at what goes on for the rest of this scene. So we are sticking it to the women for a little while, but I think we deserve to. We deserve to. We should do. And I will see you next week for that. Have a lovely rest of your week. Thank you so much for joining, Ernest and Rodney. And yeah, I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a magnificent Jubilee weekend. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.